welcome back to Taylor Time. I'm your host, Taylor Boucher, and today we're going to make a pumpkin spice cake with cream cheese icing and candy corn decorations. So let's get started. So we're gonna first start off by making our cream cheese icing. Now I love cream cheese icing so much. It's one of my favorite flavors. So here we have our powdered sugar, our cream cheese, our butter, and our vanilla. It's a super simple recipe, so anyone can make this at home. I love using simple recipes. It makes things so much easier. So here I have my attachment. This is a whisk attachment, by the way. I usually use my paddle attachment for batters and for buttercreams, but today I'm going to use a whisk attachment because whisk attachments blend in a whole lot more air into your batter and into your buttercream. So we want to have a super fluffy buttercream today. And I have my bowl here. And I'm going to first start off by adding my butter. Make sure your butter is at room temperature. It'll make it a whole lot easier to cream together with your other ingredients. And now we have our cream cheese. We're going to add this at the same time just to save some time. And boom, gotta stay tidy. I usually have a hard time with that. And now we can put this back onto our stand mixer along with our whisk attachment and blend it until it's super creamy and super smooth and both the cream cheese and the butter is combined. I'm going to put it on about high, so that way it whips a lot of air into it, hence the whisk attachment. But we want it to get super duper fluffy and it'll make decorating our cake so much easier. So I forgot to mention that we're actually going to add 2 other special ingredients, and this is really going to amplify our buttercream. So I'm going to end up adding a little bit of cinnamon. So this looks like a lot of cinnamon, but it's going to be divided into a couple different things we're going to include in this cake. So don't be alarmed, but I will say, if you are not a big cinnamon fan, this cake is not for you. So if you like cinnamon, this is a perfect cake for you, a perfect cake for fall and for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to take this really cute little spoon and add just maybe about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Not too much, because we're going to have cinnamon in a lot of other things. So, and while that's mixing, I have here some nutmeg and just a little spice, a little splash of allspice. This will help just add a little bit of spice to our buttercream. So I'm going to add maybe about 1/4 of a teaspoon of this. I'm going to add just a little bit more powdered sugar. I don't think we're going to end up needing all of this, but we will definitely use most of it because we want a super sweet buttercream. All right, and now we have some super fluffy cream cheese icing. The whisk attachment was a big part in this, so if you don't have a whisk attachment for your stand mixer and you just have a paddle attachment, that's okay, but definitely go back with the hand mixer and make sure it's super fluffy. It'll help a lot. So now, before we end up assembling our cake, we have a few more things we need to do. So here I have some sugar. This is like one of the biggest staples in baking. You can't bake without sugar, so make sure you have plenty of it. And now we can bring out the cinnamon again and add just a few, maybe about a spoonful or so. We can also add some of this nutmeg. just a little. And we're going to give this a good stir. This is going to end up being our cinnamon sugar mixture. We're going to use this throughout our cake to give us some more cinnamon flavor. Which again, I said if you're not a big cinnamon fan, this is not the cake for you because this has lots of cinnamon. So once we are done mixing together our cinnamon sugar mixture, this is sort of what it should look like. You can add less cinnamon, you can add more cinnamon, you can add more nutmeg, more allspice, but it's really all up to you. This is kind of how I like mine. So we are going to end up making some pumpkin pie filling to go in the middle of this cake. So here I have just some regular pumpkin pie puree. And actually, this is a little bit of a secret I'm going to tell you. I'm actually not really the biggest fan of pumpkin. I'm more of a sweet potato pie kind of gal, but you know, I know a lot of you guys out there love sweet potato and definitely love pumpkin flavored things. So today I'm going to make a pumpkin spice cake instead of a sweet potato pie. I can make that a little bit later. But we're going to use some of the cinnamon mixture and put this into our pumpkin pie puree. This is just to sweeten it up a little bit. We're going to add a good amount of sugar because sometimes it can be a little bit bitter on its own. And now I can take a whisk and whisk this up. It's going to go perfect with our cream cheese icing and our pumpkin spice cake. All right, so I think that our pumpkin pie filling is finished, and now we can finally start assembling our cake. This is the fun part. If you know me, you know I love decorating, so I'm super excited for this part. So let's get at our cakes. We can take one of our pumpkin spice layers of cake, and it smells so good. And I did a little bit of an extra step that's not required, but I took some more of the delicious cinnamon sugar mixture we made and I sprinkled it right on top just to kind of give it a little bit of a crunchy texture and add some more of that cinnamon flavor. So I'm going to make sure it's centered. It looks pretty centered to me. I'm going to push it over a little bit. Press it down. There we go. And a really, really, really good hack you can use, which is what I did in this cake as well. What I did is that as soon as it came out the oven, I used another cake pan and just pressed it right on top, because if you bake cakes, you know that they get that dome on top, and we don't want to have to take off all the cinnamon sugar that we put on top. So I just took it as soon as it was hot, as soon as it comes out. You want to press it down and make it flat like this and let it cool completely. I'm just going to add a little dollop in the center. I like to add a little bit of buttercream on the top of the cake before we add any kind of filling, because cake is a sponge and it will definitely soak up your filling. If you don't have some sort of barrier, you can use chocolate. Chocolate is really, really good. Or like me, you could just use some buttercream. I cannot wait for this cake to come together. I'm getting very excited. I always love decorating cakes, even if it's just like a simple fancy cake for the holidays like this one, but every single cake is special. And now, oops, I wipe off my hands. We can pipe a small border of buttercream on the outside of our cake. This is going to help with the design of the cake, and it's also going to help keep our pumpkin pie filling inside of our layers. Be very careful, very slow. We want to get all the filling in there that we can. Whoop. Easy peasy. And now we can take some of our pumpkin pie filling. Yum. I'm going to dollop some of this in the center Not too much because we don't want it to spill out the sides. That has happened to me before. It's not very fun. So I'm going to warn you guys and make sure that you guys don't do it because it has happened to me before multiple times and it's very disappointing, very delicious, but very disappointing. And now we can take our offset spatula again and we can spread it all throughout the center. I think doing these different layers with these different colors is going to give us a very, very pretty cake slice at the end. So make sure to stay until we cut the cake at the end because it's going to be very, very pretty. Again, I know, I wish I could add so much more filling, but we're going to play it on the safe side today and just add a little bit. We'll still be able to taste it. And now, we can add some marshmallows. We're going to end up adding these in the middle, kind of like a sweet potato pie casserole. You can kind of see the theme here. I love sweet potato anything. So we're going to add some marshmallows in there. This is what I like to call a mega cake. It has all sorts of different layers, all sorts of different components, all sorts of different flavors, textures, anything you can think of. We're going to get out my famous burner. And we're going to brulee these marshmallows. Be very, very careful when using one of these. These are very dangerous and have adult supervision. And you may recognize this from my pizza episode. You know, I was going crazy on that pizza episode. So we're going to take it a little bit lighter today, but we're still going to use it. And we're going to melt these marshmallows a little bit, get them nice and toasted. Toasted, toasted. Kind of like a campfire. You want to be very careful not to melt your icing on the outside because that is still our border. Kind of locking and keeping everything inside. So, yeah. My parents know I love you. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, it's all good. But my parents know I love using this thing, so we're going to turn it off and be very careful. And now we can get our next cake layer. All right, so we have our next layer. I'm going to put it right on top, but we're going to be careful, very, very careful. Don't want to press it down too much because the weight of everything else on top is going to help to keep this nice and solid. So now we can take our buttercream once again and pipe a little bit in the center and ice this once again. Don't press down too hard. Everything will spill out. Again, that's happened to me so many times. It's very disappointing when that happens, but you know, it's just more cake for me and my family. My parents are my test tasters, so they enjoy when stuff like that happens. Now we can take our buttercream again. We're basically just repeating all the steps that we did on the bottom layer. We're just going to do them all again on the top layer. Doesn't have to be completely perfect because we can go back and smooth it out. But I do want to make sure we have enough icing in here. Whoops. And I do want to make sure that you can see the icing. It's very important. I'll come back to that layer. Let's move on to the top. Make sure it works. There we go. Perfect. And this is how I like to make sure I get a super even and symmetrical cake. We want to make every single one of these dollops identical. So I'm going to start by hovering above my cake and piping, going round and round. Boop. And there's one dollop. I'm going to go straight across from it and do my second dollop. Boop. And now I'm going to turn the cake, do a dollop in between those other two dollops, and a dollop straight across. Then we're going to turn our cake diagonal and do another dollop and another dollop. And we're going to do 2 more dollops. And there you go. You got a perfectly symmetrical cake. So now we're going to do my favorite part. And we're gonna add some candy corn. Now, adults, just close your eyes for this part. You're not gonna like this part, but kids, this part is for us. So me and my sister love candy corn. We can eat it all day, but my parents hate candy corn. So most adults don't like candy corn, but I love candy corn. So I'm going to end up taking some of my candy corn and kind of just using it to decorate my cake, being very, very careful. You can kind of just place them anywhere. I kind of like to be a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to this stuff, but you can just place it anywhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just our way of really decorating, kind of like the sprinkles on the cake. Gives it an extra little bit of oomph. I think we're almost done. I have a few more candy corn that I'm going to put at the bottom. Get my icing here. This is going to help make sure it sticks. Just going to add a few little mini pumpkin candy corns. These are very delicious. Done with our candy corn. Adults, you can open your eyes again. And here we are with our delicious cake. It's finished. It's simple, but it's super delicious, and it's really, really good for the holidays. It's good for Thanksgiving. It's good for fall in general, and it's really good for any kind of pumpkin spice fans out there. We have our candy corn on here. We have our sweet pumpkin spice cake. We have our pumpkin spice filling. We have our marshmallows in the center. Our entire cake is dolloped and filled with our cream cheese icing. And we have our candy corn and our candy corn pumpkins around the bottom. This cake is super, super delicious. It's smelling so good. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut into it. Now it is time to dig into this pumpkin spice cake. And so we have our knife here. I'm gonna cut in. Ooh, I can't wait to see all the layers. We have a lot going on in this cake. Pick up this cake. Big reveal. Oh, the layers. Oh, wow, it looks really good. Oh, wow. I'm gonna try and stand it up. Ooh, be careful. Ooh. Ooh. All right, it might fall over. Let's see. Oh, the layers. Ooh. Marshmallow is sticky. Gotta make sure we get everything. All right. Oops. Again, I said that pumpkin wasn't really one of my favorites, but this cake is good. It's very good. Wow. This is a good cake. This is a very good cake. To end off this episode, I just want to say one thing that I am most thankful for, and it would have to be all of you guys. Thank you so, so much for supporting me and ordering from my business and watching my show over and over again. I just want to say thank you so much. None of this would be possible without you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.